All right, welcome back to the Patrick Show. As you can see here, we made it back again once more at Central Davidson, home of the Spartans, as this time we're here with Coach Vinson. As you see behind me is a stage of Hall of Fame, but be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And as always, let's get to the pod. All right, peace. Yo, and welcome back to the Patrick Show. As you see, we're here at Central Davidson, the Spartans, right? 15th episode, and beside me is Coach Vinson, who helps with numerous parts of the athletic department at Central Davidson. So I'm just going to go ahead and give you the floor now and tell people a little bit about yourself, your coaching experience, and whatnot.
All right. So again, my name is Donovan Vinson. I'm a product of Northeast North Carolina. I grew up in a small town called Murfreesboro, where I graduated from Hereford County High School back in 2009. And during that time, I went to Winston-Salem State for undergrad. While in high school, I was primarily baseball as my sport, but I was manager for basketball, and during football season, I was in the band, believe it or not. I did music starting in middle school, and I did it all the way through college. That was one of the ways I helped pay for my college degree.
Yes, sir.
In college, I was a STEM major, with biology being my primary. I did a physics and chemistry minor throughout that time. And then from there, I just kind of figured out what was best for me in life. I wanted to do certain things. One of the things I did was I worked at Victory Junction, which is a camp for young people with serious and chronic illnesses. And so during that time, I realized that I have a passion for working with the youth. And education just gave me the mode and the transportation to do that. So I've been here at Central Davidson for 9 years, the first and only school I've been. So I am getting ready to prepare for a transition. But at the same time, I'm excited to have spent 9 years here. In my 9 years, I've coached baseball and basketball. Women's basketball is my primary. I was an assistant for women's basketball for 4 years, and then 5 years as the head coach. With baseball, I did it for 6 years, and then with football, I did it for now 6 years as well. With football, I've taken on numerous roles, starting out just as an assistant coach to a position. And then from there, I've worked my way through special teams coordinator, JV head coach, and then this past season been an interim head coach for the Spartans going into the 22-23 season. Gotcha.
As you can tell, I mean, he's been all over the place, and I love to hear that. And then you've, like I said, like you've mentioned, been helping out with numerous sports, so that's fantastic. And as always on the podcast, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And this is the second episode here, back-to-back videos, as my last one was with Coach Ty Singer here at Central Davidson. So be sure to check that episode out as well. But as always on the podcast, we'll just start off with prayer. All right?
Absolutely.
All right, so let's go ahead and bow our heads. Father God, I just come to you once more to thank you for all the blessings and gifts you provide each and one of us, Lord. I ask that during our days, Lord, that during our temptations, during our tests, our testimonies, Lord, that we still can come to you, Lord, that whenever times get tough, Lord, that we can lean onto you harder and stronger, Lord, that we continue to build our relationship with you, Lord. I ask that whenever we are out and about, Lord, that we continue to honor and glorify your name. So in Lord's name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. And always on the podcast, we start with the hot take. We get our special guest a little trickery, a little question to start off, get the juices flowing. I love to say. And with that, my hot take, my question to you is: with the numerous sports you coach, which one do you have the most joy?
Oh, man. That really is a hot take type question.
Yes.
I've never wanted to pick because I love all of my athletes. So in saying that,
you're breaking somebody. Who's it?
I'm looking at women's basketball.
Okay.
Only because, again, I've done that for all 9 years here at Central. Again, I was an assistant under Sterling Charles for 4 years, and then he handed the program down to me, in which I did it for 5 years. But I will say coaching each sport is so different, and each one of them bring me a different joy. Baseball is that thinking man's game, and just processing and doing your analysis throughout the game. Basketball is very strategic, fast-paced, tight quarters, live environments, and then football, you're in North Carolina. You know what you're going to get with football in North Carolina, especially here in Davidson County as well. And just the intensity and just watching these young men grow and develop. So they all three are number one, but if I had to to lay my hammer down on when I would say women's basketball.
Gotcha. And with that, obviously we're here today to focus more so on the football side of things, and I will roll it straight into Central Davidson, and we'll start off not as of this past season, but the 2022 season. And with that season, you start off strong, start off hot. Went 7-0 with out conference and in conference games. And then you just went on a 0-3 losing streak, and you were just right off and missed the playoffs. So walk us through that season, because I'm sure that was a roller coaster. Being so strong early and then losing those three and not even making the playoffs. Yeah.
So for myself, at that point I was a special teams coordinator.
Yes, sir.
But the head JV coach, Coach Trivett, myself, Coach Smith, and Coach Hogg, we spent a lot of time together in different coordinator roles, defense, offense, and then Coach Trivett was the head coach. So going through that season, coming off the end of COVID, so you were dealing with some health injuries and things of that nature. The biggest part I would say is that we were trying to rebuild and retool that team from the spring season and just kind of build on what they were working on. And so
yes, sir.
We started off the season strong. Some teams got COVID. With those teams getting COVID, it kind of shortened our season. We had to play some different teams. Going into conference play, we started out hot. You're absolutely correct. And then we ended the last two games with North Davidson and Oak Grove, both not going the way that we desired or wanted. As we look at it, we did make the playoffs. I went back and checked. We played Lefford. And so a lot of teams see it, and it looks like we played conference play. But we played Lefford in the 28-21 ball game that they won at their place. And so it was definitely a success. First time Central had been to the playoffs in some years. And we just looked at it as just a continued building and process of what we were trying to do.
Gotcha. And with that, we'll just continue on. I felt I didn't even see that.
It happened. I didn't. Again, we played Lefford. I mean, you played a conference opponent.
So with that, and then we'll start with this past season. Another strong out-of-conference performance. And I want to start off with asking you, with just annihilating your opponents in the out-of-conference, do you think that prepares y'all for the in-conference games?
Yes, so I think this year was about building confidence. So we had new guys going into new roles. We had 7 seniors the year before, but they played some big roles. They played on both sides of the ball. And so one of the things that we were doing moving into this season was spending time with building new guys in new roles. We had some transfers come in. We had some guys that were very helpful, that were youthful as well. And so this year was just to build upon what we did the last season. Take advantage of what the knowledge we had from the veterans, but also build upon what we had in our youth. So very successful season. I would credit that again to our offensive coordinator, Jake Smith, and defensive coordinator, Matthew Holgreath. But I try to just manage, get out of their way and let these guys play football, and it paid dividends on the long run.
Gotcha. And then this past season, I'm sure was a redemption season. Coming back, and you were actually able to defeat North Davidson this season. Walk us through that performance for the team.
And so for us, it was just about playing hard football. One of the things we did kind of have going in our favor was that we were undefeated at home at the time. And so we didn't want to give that up. We didn't want to sacrifice that. We wanted to put forth a lot of effort in our success. And so those wins that we got early in the season allowed us to get some young guys some reps, but it also allowed us to flirt with our defense in some different situations, some different ways. And how we did that was by taking advantage of our athletes against their athletes, but also trying to strategic game plan and use those things as need be and as necessary. When we look at where we are and where the season was at that point, we wanted to make sure that we left it all on the table, that we didn't leave anything in our pockets. We put it all in and we went with the gamble, and it paid dividends for us as we played North Davidson at home to close out the season, home undefeated until we went into the playoffs.
Gotcha. And with that, then we got to talk about the final regular season this year as you went away against Oak Grove, and that was a nail biter. That was all the way to the end of for that season. So talk to us about how that game played out and what worked for y'all and what didn't.
So you never know what you're going to get out of these mountain teams. Sometimes you get these big guys who are strong and athletic, and then sometimes you get guys who are fast and athletic. And they had a little combination of both. And what I'll say about that Smoky Mountain team is they were very well coached, and they did what they did well. They only were out of first place in their conference by like 2 points that they lost. And then for us, we were only out of winning the conference by a total of like 10 points. So with that being said, the 16-17 matchup was a good one. It was really a battle of two teams who could have won their conference.
Yes, sir.
And so I think a lot of people look at that game and go, oh, Central's the 16. They should win it. They should do a phenomenal job. And that's just hard, you know, 16-17 matchup. So as the game progressed, we realized that it was turning into one of those who has the ball last situation. They had a very talented young quarterback and good receiving core, and then they did the job up front. And that's what ended up kind of taking us down. We had the ball in the final possession, but it did not play out in our favor. But, again, I'm just impressed with the guys' resolve and resiliency, and that's what we talked to them at halftime of that game of, hey guys, you know, this is you're playing a home playoff game, but this is a game. You know, this is something that we're going to have to go get. Nobody's going to give it to you. You know, they didn't travel 3.5 hours down the mountain to just lose to Central Davidson.
Yes, sir.
So it was impressive to see our guys continue to compete and fight against some of the things and do some of the things they did.
Gotcha with that. And then that was you had lost that game by 41-38. So
yes.
Like we were saying, that was right there to the end for sure. And that leaves me. We had skipped ahead. I wanted to talk about the regular season performance when that final game when y'all traveled down to Oak Grove. How was that game? Because I remember y'all were up early, and then it was right there at the end of the ball game. So what worked for y'all and what did not?
Again, another well-coached team. I think that's what you see when you play in our conference and when you get in the playoffs.
Yes, sir.
Holcomb-led team is going to be competitive. They're going to do what they do, and then we were able to establish a tempo early. And one thing we try to do is make our offense our defense. So steal the time of possession and make them work and understand that teams that throw the ball, if they have a short 3 and out, then that may be to their disadvantage because now we get the ball back and hopefully drive down the field. We do think the difference in that game was probably 1 or 2 possessions, you know, closing out, driving the ball down the field, moving the ball, and just not sustaining the possessions.
Yes, sir.
It was extremely challenging. We come down to the end of the game, very similar to the Smoky Mountain game that happened the week after that. Was we made some small X and O mistakes. As a coach, there's some things that we obviously would want to do differently. Players had things that they wanted to do differently. But at the end of the day, it's about effort. It's about hard work. It's about, are we getting after it, and are we achieving the results that we want to achieve? The goal was to win a conference title. We didn't get to that point, but we were, you know, at that point excited to host our first home playoff game that had been here in 20, 30 years. Yes, sir. So we laid that one to rest, and then we went to work on that Saturday, Sunday, getting ready for the next one.
Gotcha. And then with that, we keep going over it. We gotta talk about the offensive scheme. I mean, I don't know how to put it, but it's definitely unique. That's the best way to put it, with the double wing T quarterback underneath center. So that's definitely unique. So what's the meaning, or I don't know where I'm going at with that question, but like it's a different style.
Just to kind of give you a glimpse into us, we have athletes and we have linemen and things of that nature. And what we took advantage of was they're all unique skill sets. If we can get the ball into our playmakers' hands a little bit quicker and allow them to work and then allow our up front guys to block as a unit was going to be our biggest key. And so with the double wing offense, it is all about time management. It is all about controlling that time of possession, making teams work. And it breeds a level of physicality that some teams don't like, to be completely honest. And what it did was it takes, 11 players, 22 players total on the field, and we put them in what we call a phone booth. And the overall objective of our offense is to get 3 yards in what we call a pile of bodies. It is not designed to break home runs, but when you get home run hitters like Keyshawn Breedlove, the year before Corey Castelat, young Norman, Corbin Miller, I mean, you can name a plethora of guys that fall into that category. When you have guys like that, then you do get these home run shots. And it do become a part and weaving into the thread of your offense, like, all right, these guys are going to eventually get one. We had a guy like that this year, Amir Craven. Every now and then he would he would get 4 or 5 carries a game, and one of them was going to be for a big carry. But the ultimate goal of the offense is to just grind out the clock, use our offense as our defense, and make teams adjust to us. I would say our offensive meetings weren't very long as coaches. We said we were going to be who we were going to be, and you had to find a way to stop it. We saw some teams give us 10 linemen. We saw some teams give us 5. We saw teams we've seen a lot of different looks. And we've managed to have some success against all of them. What we do understand is a lot of times we shot ourselves in the foot, and that's what you're going to get. As humans and as high school athletes and coaches, we all are prone to making mistakes, and sometimes they were costly, and sometimes they weren't, in which athletes and linemen alike both just made plays.
Gotcha. And I'm sure with that type of scheme, you find out real quick on who's during spring ball, like as right now, you find out who's the guys who's willing to grit and play and work into that scheme.
Absolutely.
And with that, like you would mention a couple names, Keyshawn and Corey, I guess I wanted to ask, how's that work with the recruiting process? Because I'm sure whenever the next level they see this type of scheme, it's definitely interesting and probably doesn't fit to the usual college level.
And that's true. You look most Saturday and Sundays, they're going to be throwing the ball. They're going to be averaging 50 to 60 passes a game, where on the other side we were averaging 50, 60 runs a game.
Right.
And what we try to tell coaches when they come here and they recruit our athletes is that the purpose of our offense is to build tough, grit football players. We know that at the next level, there's another Keyshawn somewhere. There's another Corey somewhere who can work just as well as they can. But one of the things that we tell them that is different between our guys and that guy is our guys know how to grind it out. They know what it's going to be. They know it's going to be gritty. It's going to feel sandpaper-like. It's not going to be something nice and smooth. But it does translate because we do throw the ball a little bit, believe it or not. And so guys like Corey, guys like Keyshawn do have opportunities to catch the ball out of the backfield as well. And so they get an opportunity to showcase their hands and those things that translate to the next level. As the game evolves, obviously people want to throw the football, but I think one of the things that we're seeing now is some people are getting back into those run-based offenses. And so this is where those guys fit in. They're seamless, and they understand that, I'm going to just tote the rock, give me the ball. And that's just the mentality that we love to have. So it is hard when you are probably a college recruiter and you see us in this formation compared to what you're running. But what I can say is what you don't see on film is the intangibles and just how much it wears on these young men. When you're carrying the ball 20 to 25 times a game and you're only getting 3 yards, that's a mental task. And that's challenging, when you haven't broke one, when you haven't made the big play. And what we tell these guys is our job is not to win the game in the first quarter in this offense. It's to win it in the fourth quarter. When the other teams are tired, we're turning it on. And that's what college coaches would get when they recruit these type of players in our offense.
Gotcha. That's big. And with that, we'll roll on straight to college ball. And I've heard you're another Tar Heel fan.
Yes.
I keep finding guys from Tar Heels. It's unfortunate, but I will say after the performance of this past weekend, Duke defeating Carolina, sweeping them in basketball league, that was definitely enjoyable to see. But I guess what do you think is needed from Carolina basketball in order for them to make it into the tournament?
Well, at this point, Joe Lunardi, all those guys, they got their bracketology going, and in order for us to make it to the big dance, you got to win the ACC pretty much at this point.
Yes, sir.
But in order for them to do that, I'm no Hubert Davis, but I would just say is, just play that Carolina style of basketball. Get out in transition, make teams run with you, and take advantage of your speed and your veteran leadership. I think at times all Carolina fans can see where there are times where we're playing isolation basketball, and there's times when that's needed. But I think when you make the ball move, you keep the ball lively with energy, those are going to be the things. Defensively, I think the Tar Heels have really turned it around. They did a really good job Saturday of trying to protect the lane and the paint against Duke, and so it's going to be a challenge. I mean, we already know what ACC basketball looks like. I'm excited that it's in Greensboro again this year for the ACC tournament.
For sure.
But in order for them to realistically to make it, they're going to have to win it all. And so, I'll say to the counter of that, Carolina girls swept Duke in the regular season, and then Duke girls won in the ACC tournament. So they won the one that in some respects matters the most. So hopefully Carolina boys will be poised to do the same, where they just take that sweep, turn around and say, guess what, Deke, you can't beat us 3 times in a row, and we will knock you out of the ACC tournament.
Yeah, I hope that's not the case. I hope that's not the case whatsoever.
Go Heels, right?
And no, do not go Heels. But we'll keep rolling, and we'll talk about professionals. You're a Dallas Cowboys fan. So
Very few in this area.
I'm proud to say that I finally found a Cowboys fan. But, after witnessing this past season for the Cowboys and how they able to at least make it to the second round, so they're improving. But I want to ask you this. Do you think Dak Prescott is the quarterback that can give the Cowboys the Super Bowl?
I do. I really do. And it's not so much when I look at Dak Prescott. It is a matter of utilizing your tools to the best of your abilities. As I watched the game, one of the things I would say is when I was watching, it was like, okay, we got Ezekiel Elliott. He's now turned into a third down back. Let's be honest. He's a heavy-toted back. Well, we should have him and Tony Pollard in there together,
right?
And utilizing their skill sets, and then when you take and add guys like CeeDee Lamb to the mixture, and then you get a healthy Michael Gallup, those things make the biggest difference. But I think what they're missing is just the total offensive guy who can just stretch you like a Tyreek Hill.
Right.
I think CeeDee Lamb does what he can do, and it's phenomenal. By all means, it's phenomenal to watch him play. But I think sometimes it takes him out of his natural role when we have to put him in that slot spot sometimes.
I would agree with that.
And so defensively, I think they're just 1 or 2 guys missing maybe in the secondary and across the linebacking core. I know they try to use Michael Parsons everywhere.
Yeah,
but
maybe too much.
Yeah, maybe too much. I don't want it to be a Christian McCaffrey and Panthers situation with him. He's excelling in that role as a defensive end, drop end. But I think if we could find one more linebacker to complement Leighton, would be a big help to the Cowboys.
Right. For me, I'm going to give you a short answer. I'm going to say Dak. I don't think he's the guy.
Oh, no.
I don't think he's the guy for us to win the Super Bowl. And, I will agree with you saying we are missing a couple pieces here on the defensive end. But I really don't think Dak is necessarily our guy in order to get over the hump and win a Super Bowl in what feels like ages now.
So, quick question back. Who do you think it would be the guy? Is the guy in the draft or is the guy already in the league?
The guy could be in the league depending on who you're saying. I don't think Aaron Rodgers. I don't think he's good enough. I don't think Dak Prescott's the best person in our division. I think Jalen Hurts was, and Daniel Jones, based off his playoff performance, you could debate it, but I would still say Dak's the second best. But if you switch roles with Jalen and Dak, I feel like we could have went to the Super Bowl.
Well, and that's true. I don't think Dak uses his legs enough, and I don't know if that comes off of dealing with injuries.
Right.
But I feel like he can utilize his legs a little bit more. I mean, he's a big, strong quarterback, and I just feel like he don't take advantage of that part of his game. Now, he has been a pocket passer. That is his style of play, and he's done it to an elite level to get him into the NFL. But I do think if he could utilize that more, it offers a different level of defending. Right. Now we know that this guy is also a playmaker.
Yes, sir.
And so I think that's the part that's kind of missing. So I can kind of agree with you. You know, getting a guy who's a little bit more two-way kind of player, pocket passer, and also can move throughout the pocket.
Absolutely. And with that, we'll roll back to high school. And I always ask these coaches wherever I've been at, what's the goal or what's the mindset rolling into next season?
So going into next season is really a rebuild for Central.
Okay.
We graduated 20 seniors in boys in football. And so it's a rebuild, but we still have some pieces here that are going to be very much capable of, again, making a run at the title. I constantly state that if you're not chasing a state championship or a conference title, then high school sports might not be the thing for your passion, because we know that wins and losses do matter.
Yes, sir.
But I would say that for the Spartans going into the next season underneath a new head coach, the biggest thing is just rebuilding, and for the new guy gaining that community trust. When this community trusts you and they believe in you, then they support you, If they don't, sometimes they will struggle, but as long as you stay true to your process, it will help. So I think for the Spartans, going into next year, it's going to be a rebuild. I do not think it's going to be a losing season. I will say that honestly. But I do think it's going to look different than what we've seen, again, last year with the Corey, the Keyshawn, the young Norman, those kind of guys being missing.
And then that leads to a big-time question, all right? Big-time question. I know you can't speak for whomever the new coach may be, but I must ask you, could there be a possible change in the Spartan offensive scheme?
So I think the offense lives and dies by the offensive coordinator, believe it or not.
Okay.
But it would be I don't want to say bad to say, but it would be hard to say that a new coach wouldn't come in and try to experiment. I think every coach who's come in try something new no matter where they are.
Right. Yes,
because you want to build your own identity. You want it to look like your form of Spartan football.
Yes, sir.
But I think what I've seen and what I've been since the last 9 years, the Spartans have been most successful when they've been in this offense.
Gotcha. Yes, sir.
Or some variation thereof. So if that means going away from the double wing and going into a power I kind of team, or a flex bone, or a wing, or more of a wishbone kind, whatever works. Right. But I think the run-based offense here at Central is what's going to pay the most dividends for these young men.
All right, gotcha. Thank you. That was my last and final question, but I'll give you the floor one more time if you'd like to give any advice or additional comments.
Again, I'm just thankful for the opportunity to see a young man like yourself just powering forward and being a pioneer in the world of podcasts. And, I hope that your future is nice and bright with all of your goals and aspirations. As I move forward myself into a new role and going into school administration, I hope that I can just continue to empower young people that I have the opportunity to serve with and around, and just continue to be a guiding light and a beacon of light within the community itself. As it pertains to athletics, I'm definitely going to wish the Spartans much love and much success in the future, football, basketball, and all of its sports. Even though this won't be my home next year, but I do wish them much success.
Gotcha. I appreciate your time again, Coach Vinson, and thank you for the big time episode 15 here on the Patrick Show. And as always, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to the channel, and be sure to keep watching till the end. You never know when we'll have another shirt giveaway. But with that being said, we'll just head on out, and as always, we'll just say peace at the end. All right,
peace.
3, 2, 1, peace.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.